Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. Super excited that you have joined me this week. A week ago today, we were talking about Game 6 of the MLB playoffs, the of the World Series with the Houston Astros. We will get to that shortly. But before I get into today's show, I definitely want to offer condolences and prayers to the families and really to everyone impacted by the what is being called the Astroworld Festival tragedy. Lives have been lost, lives have been changed, and all we can do is really pray for recovery for those who are still injured. There's a 9-year old baby, all right, because when you're 9, you're a baby to me. When you're 14, you're a baby, but who is in critical condition, and and so I just joined the family and the people that know him in praying that he survives it, overcomes it, and thrives. So I just want to do that before we get into today's show. Condolences and prayers. So many unanswered questions and just so much going on around that tragedy. That's what it is. So I couldn't really start today's show talking about football, basketball, or really anything without starting there. So that's where I wanted to start. Um, as we move into sports, this week's show is really about all things personnel, right? Whether you're rebuilding, what does it mean to rebuild a team? We're going to talk about that. What do you do? How do you move forward with your organization when you are already been at the top for several years in a row? What team that comes to mind, obviously, for me is the Houston Astros. We're going to talk some Astros. I mentioned rebuild. We'll talk Rockets and we will talk Texans. They look two. Those are two very different situations, and we're going to talk about all of it. And of course, you. I welcome you to join the conversation. Let me know your thoughts. What's on your mind? What are you thinking? And we have a business spotlight. Kim Edwards Williams, you've heard her on this show before. She's going to join us in about 20 minutes, and we're going to talk about a new product that her business is launching, and just how you do a product launch, right? So not just to talk about the actual product she's launching and sort of the revolution that she's starting with this product, but how you go about it. She's an entrepreneur. She's a friend of the show, and I look forward to having her join us shortly. And of course, all of your questions and comments. So here we are, a week after the Houston Astros were eliminated from the World Series, and the Atlanta Braves won the World Series. There were some interesting things about the Braves winning that series. Now, Game 6, if you were an Astros fan, was not fun to watch. Atlanta was dominating in every sense of the word. Um, Max Fried pitched a kind of a lights out kind of game. The Astros had a chance early in that first inning to jump on him, and they didn't, and he recovered and was in total control. And Atlanta was hitting the cover off the ball, right? They were hitting the cover off the ball. They were hitting the ball out of Minute Maid Park. It was flying in early and often, and they outplayed the Astros and won the World Series. The good news for me, the best news to me thus far about the Houston Astros is that they have re-signed Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker is signed for one more year. One of my sisters says, "Why one year?" Listen, I'm just glad they signed him. He said he has some unfinished business and that he wants to, he loves these players, he loves the city, and he wants to come back. And he loves the game, and he wants to come back. And the unfinished business, of course, is him winning a World Series. And I think that is, you think about it, for this team, the Houston Astros, to be in the World Series 3 times in 5 years, to go to 5 straight ALCS championships is a big deal. So now they've got to put that all behind them. They got to make it 6. They've got to get to World Series next year and then go further and win it. I think this team can do it. I mean, they're strong. They're good. And those of you who are watching and who are listening have been asking me about Carlos Correa. Do I think the Houston Astros are going to re-sign Carlos Correa? I think they're going to make a good attempt. I know that I listened to some of my local colleagues who said that the first offer the Astros made is a slap in his face. I just don't think a 5-year, $160 million offer is a slap in the face. It may not be enough to keep him, but I think that's kind of ridiculous, right? And when you listen to Jim Crane, who we had a chance to visit with last Friday, talk about just the dynamics of this team and their payroll and what they have going on, the Astros payroll ranks at the top of the league. This is not the team that was in place 8 years ago, right? When they weren't paying players, when they were losing 100 games. They have been competitive with their pricing. I think you just got to push it maybe a little bit further. You got to find a way to sign Carlos Correa, right? Not just for the production when you look at numbers, but just for what he means to this franchise and to this team. So we'll see. I feel like, well, Carlos has made it clear he wants a longer term deal. He would love 10 years. I say the Astros started at 5. Maybe they negotiate and get to 7 or 8. Maybe that's enough to keep him. I don't know. He's a free agent now, and other teams get a chance to talk to him. So you know that teams like the Yankees and I mean, they're teams that have money that don't have some of the same challenges in terms of payroll that the Astro. And I say challenges. I don't want to call the Astros payroll a challenge, but that may be in a better position to offer Carlos what he wants. I remain optimistic until I have a reason not to that Carlos Correa will be an Astro again. The other player that they issued a qualifying offer to was Justin Verlander. Apparently, he threw yesterday in Florida for several teams. He is also a free agent. They offered him about 18 million. You know, I I think that that's about where Verlander will end up this year, and I kind of feel like he ought to sign with Houston, right? He was the highest paid player on the team last year, and he was out. A legitimate injury. He was recovering from Tommy John surgery, that elbow surgery. He missed the entire season. What did he make? 32, $33 million? Not counting anybody's change, but dude, I think you need to give the Astros real consideration. So who knows? Maybe he goes back to Detroit and they pay him more. All of that, all of those are things that have to be sorted out this offseason. And it's a short offseason for the Astros, just like the Braves, because, we'll be talking about it in January, in a couple months, pitchers and catchers reporting. The other news out of Astros camp is that Alex Bregman had surgery on his wrist yesterday. So if you followed Bregman and you thought, man, he looks like something's not quite right, well, he had surgery to repair something in his wrist. Something wasn't quite right. And so hopefully he gets that worked out. He's supposed to be recovered and ready to start spring training. And I believe that he will be. He has had injuries the last few seasons. He struggles with those soft tissue injuries like those hamstrings and quads. This was something different. Hopefully he can become healthy, right? Fully recover and really be back and be the Bregman that we saw when he was a runner-up for the MVP. So that happened. Yuli Gurriel and Carlos Correa both won Golden Gloves. Yuli Gurriel at 37, who also was the batting champion, is I think the oldest first-time Gold Glove winner. But nevertheless, Gurriel has re-signed. He will be back. The Astros exercise their option, and he will be an Astro next year again. And then on yesterday, Dusty Baker. Uh, I don't want to miss it. So many honors? Let me see here. Uh, nope, that's not it. I think it was um, for Manager of the Year, for AL Manager of the Year is a finalist, and I'm just trying to pull up. There was another honor, if you will, for the Houston Astros, and it escapes me, but I will find it. And it is this team's got some pieces, okay? You get a little spoiled, you want the world, they perform at such a high level, and you think, hey, why not a winner? Why not be in the World Series every year? I asked Jim Crane last Friday during the press conference. I said, hey, Jim, does that create any kind of pressure, that when you get to the World Series 3 times in 5 years and you win the ALC, you get to the ALCS 5 years in a row. And he says, no, it doesn't create any pressure because this is where we're supposed to be, right? This is what we aim for. So, yeah. Um, Texans. Alvin says, how do you handle a hot mess? Absolutely. We're going to get to that. Alvin Wright says, Correa, show Correa that the team is bringing better pitchers and relievers, and he might stay for less. 280 for 7 years. If you at five, they offered him 5 years, 160. That's what, 32 million a year, a little more than that. They offered a little more than 160. But 32 million a year, 7 years. I mean, listen, it's going to be in that neighborhood, right? It's going to be some real money. Good morning, Sylvia Sims. Welcome, welcome. And good morning, Charles. Always good to have you on the show. It is going to be interesting to see if they can keep this squad together, right? And I couldn't, when you listen to what Crane said and what he said truthfully, right? He didn't make it up. You can't really argue, right? Yeah, he's aiming to be the best every year. And he said, listen, we've done well. Our fans support us. So, we made money this year. Our sponsors supported us. He didn't do the whole, we don't have anything. He said, we put the money back into the team. And we've been above the cap before. We're at the top in terms of payroll. And so we plan to stay there and be competitive. But we also have to consider fielding an entire team. They've got to get some help with pitching. They know that. And of course, talking to James Click at the press conference on Friday saying, hey, talk about the pipeline. I mean, they've got some stuff in the pipeline. And he said, hey, but Dusty always wants me to get more pitching, catching, and hitting. I mean, pitching, defense, and hitting. That's everything, right? But that's how you stay competitive and you stay in the hunt. So it is, I'm optimistic. Hey, good morning, Deborah Aaron. Welcome, welcome. Angel says hello. Welcome. It's hard to be at the top and it takes work. And I just hope that they can continue to build. I hope that they're able to keep Carlos Correa. I hope they're able to keep Justin Verlander, a healthy Verlander. Because think about it, you've got, Greinke is aging and was went to the bullpen this year, but so you're probably not going to see Greinke come back. Apparently, he would like to be in the National League. Verlander's a question mark. They've got to use. They've got to. They've got to do something in terms of pitching, but they've got a pipeline of people. They've got the Pena kid, the Pena young man. I say kid who is in minor who's in the minors, who's at AAA with the Skeeters. Carlos talks about him and he says, "Hey man, he's better than me." I don't know if he really means that, but that young man can play. Right, he's a real deal. I think you would love to have them both, right? You'd love to have them both. So we'll see. And you're right, Charles. He says my mother used to advise me to ask for it all. Absolutely, you have to ask for it, otherwise you don't get it. So let's talk about what's happening. So that's kind of what's going on with the Astros. They're dealing with free agency. Dusty signed, and I'm so glad because I didn't want to have to not like the Astros. Like, I Dusty made it clear he wanted to come back. I tried, which is one of the listen. This is why I don't listen to a lot of local sports talk radio because they will have me hot because of some of the stuff they say. Many of them thought Dusty shouldn't be back, and there's no way that James Cook is going to bring him. I felt like, how does James Click have the juice to say whether Dusty comes back or not? That has got to be a Jim Crane move. At any rate, we don't have to have that discussion. It's done. Dusty signed a 1-year deal. He is coming back to manage this team for another year. Brent Strom, of course, retired. He had talked about retiring throughout the year, and he did. So they're going to maybe elevate somebody who was already working with pitchers. So we'll see what happens with the staff. Other than that, they plan to bring the entire staff back, including Gary Pettis. As long as his health says so, they definitely want him to come back so that the Astros coaching staff will remain intact. And I mentioned Bregman is getting some work done on his wrist. Hopefully, we see a healthy Bregman emerge in the spring and remain healthy throughout the year. And then, of course, the big, 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 big question is Carlos Correa. What do they do with Carlos Correa? Guys, I heard Carlos on an interview in New York talk about wanting to be with the Astros, but also talking about recognizing the difference, right? 300 million in New York is not the same as 300 million in Houston. right? Because of what you pay, or the numbers. There's a difference because of the not just the cost of living, but taxes. He really was talking, I believe, more about taxes and cost of living. So yes, if you get a 300 million dollar contract from the Yankees, what is that? What's that number to be in Texas? And his is really about a multi-year deal. I understand both sides. I understand Jim Crane, the owner, a businessman, because what you don't want is an Albert Pujols that you're paying all that money later and you're not getting the value for it. So that's why they offered five. I believe they could get to seven, maybe eight, maybe, but I think they could get to seven. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I like the fact that Carlos has made it clear that a part of the equation will be where the offer comes from in comparing it to this offer. It's not apples and apples in terms of numbers because you're going to be taxed differently. So that was Carlos is a businessman. I mean, I don't know if I tell you guys if I've told you guys this story. I'm sure I've shared it, right? When Carlos was brought up here to the Astros, he signed as a 17-year-old. He was their number one pick. He came up through the farm system, and when he was brought up to uh, the big leagues, the team was on the road. They were actually playing in Chicago. So when the team got back from Chicago, and his first game as an Astro, they had a press conference and introduced Carlos to the local community and to the local media. And he had what he calls Team Correa. His Twitter handle is Team Correa, or Team CJ Correa, or Team Correa. Anyway, it wasn't from a point. It wasn't from a position of the Astros don't have it together. I need my own. He understood. It was clear to me that he understood that he is a business, and so he had his own nutritionist and physio people, and he had his own team working in conjunction with, not opposed to, the Astros. But so if he understood from the very beginning, I'm a business and this is a business, he will approach it like a business. He's a smart young man. And so we'll see what happens. You can't ever get mad at somebody for making the best deal for them and their family, right? Like George Springer last year. You wish the best for people. So we'll see if this is the time the Astros do something a little different and if they're able to bring Correa back. I hope so. So the Astros organization is a great example of building it the right way. Now, it was painful. You guys remember when they were losing 100 games a year? It was painful, right? It was painful. They had one or two players, and people were saying, "Why don't they go and spend some money on players?" And my position was always, for what? Because if you don't have enough people to be competitive, why would you go out and spend a whole lot of money for a couple of players to come in with this minor league group that you were fielding? I got it. And so Jim Crane was committed from the very beginning to rebuilding their farm system, building from within so that you always have a pipeline. And because they were so bad for several years, they got these great draft picks. The problem is you have these great draft picks. And if you're right on them, right, if you select correctly, then and every couple of years you got somebody that's maxing out that you're going to have to figure out how to pay, and that's kind of where they are. They're going to have to talk about in the coming years an Alvarez, right? What are you going to do with an Alvarez? You're going to have to talk about a Kyle Tucker and how you handle a Kyle Tucker, and maybe down the road a Jake Myers. I mean, that's the goal, that you have a team with the kind of talent that you have. That's a good problem to have. So we'll see what they do. So I mentioned that, and now we're going to go talk about the Houston Texans, which I think, what did Alvin Wright say earlier? How do you rebuild a hot mess? Okay, good question, Alvin Wright. So I think, first of all, you've got to have a strategy, and you've got to have a good plan. Now, granted, you don't have to tell the folk what the plan is. You don't have to tell. Uh, you don't have to tell us what the plan is. I just am not really sure that they know what the plan is, or that their plan, and I'm talking about the people over on Kirby now, the Texans, that they have a good plan. It's unclear to me from just watching the moves of Nick Casario in the offseason what their plan is, right? Clearly they're in rebuild mode. And I understand that the Deshaun Watson situation creates some challenges. Even for a good organization, it would create some challenges. I'm clear about that. I don't think either side has handled it the best. And that, and, you know, you've heard me say that I'm a huge Deshaun Watson supporter. I don't know that he's handled this the best. Just from the beginning, when he decided he no longer wanted to be with the organization. But so that you have all that, right? You have the kind of fire sale. You have a whole lot of people that you bring in on these 1 year deals, basically. You restructure some deals, and you give some guys that were here guaranteed money so that you can shorten the deals. But then you get rid of them, so then you still got to pay the money. I I just don't. I don't know what they're doing. Like I don't get it. I don't know what they're doing. I'm tired of hearing about culture. Culture is winning, right? And the reality is, and you've heard me say this before here too, you are building a culture. What does that mean? Because the players, there may be two or three players, four max, on this team now that will be on this team when they are competitive in another, maybe it's 2023. That's a little optimistic, but another 2 3 years, maybe when they start to be competitive. They're not going to be very competitive next year. Maybe they will be in 2023. That's their first year. I think they have a shot at it. And then maybe it's 2024 is more realistic. I don't know what the time frame is. It depends on how they manage these next few off seasons. So you're not going to have these players here. Maybe you have a couple of the defensive linemen. Maybe you've got a Roy Lopez 6 round draft pick. Looks like that was a good deal. He will likely be around if he continues to progress. John Grenard, defensive lineman. There's a good chance that perhaps he's around. I mean, there's a few guys that you have here now that may be around in the future. I don't think Justin Reed's around. He's going to be a free agent. They're not going to want to pay him this year. And so he will likely not be here, although I know he likes the city of Houston and wants to be here. And so as I'm just sitting here thinking about who will be on this team, so it takes me back to this whole building a culture. The people that you're building it with aren't going to be here. David Culley's not going to be coaching this team long term. Nick will likely be here long term. He's connected with Jack, and whatever Jack's connection is with Cal McNair is obviously rock solid. So that's a little group that's going to be around. I don't think that David Culley will. Perhaps he survives this year and gets another. Not sure. Have no idea. I have been uh, I don't want to say a David Culley supporter. I've tried to be fair about David Culley, covering him throughout the season, realizing that a lot of the decisions that are made, well, really any of the personnel decisions are made, none of that is up to him. And have wondered whether the decisions on the field when it comes to coaching, if those are really his. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I just, the idea that Nick Casario in his little coaching outfit is, I say outfit, uniform. I don't mean that to be in any kind of condescending way, but is in the coaching booth with the coaches during the game. I just can't imagine that your general manager's up there not calling down plays. I don't know. I'm not in the booth. I have no idea. But that particular situation always gives me a little reason for pause. Okay, it does. So I don't know about this team, and I'm not convinced that they know exactly what it is they're doing. Right? That's why ownership matters. You're the owner. You get to decide what you do, and it doesn't matter that somebody like me decides things otherwise. So last week, I had a chance to visit with um, not just me, but the media got a chance to visit with Nick Casario the day after the trade deadline to just kind of an update to talk about really all things. I'm going to see if I can find it because I shared it. That's what I will do. I will bring it up on my um, Twitter page and show it to you. But So Nick Casario came in and he of course talked a little bit about the Deshaun Watson stuff. Not saying much. He said, there's not a lot he could say. I get that. I understand it. Oh yeah, Charles makes a great point. He said, you have to treat people right. I don't think a good organization would be in this position. I agree with you, Charles, wholeheartedly. And Alvin says the Texas brand needs to start being more entertaining, more entertaining for sure. And you know, I don't have any issue with Nick Casario. I have to tell you, Nick Casario, who I don't see very often. I see David Culley, as you guys know, every week, couple times a week at least. He has never, ever called me by name, and I've mentioned that to you all. There are two other women who are there on a regular basis, and one's a beat writer, and the other works for Wire Service. So there are a lot. One is there all the time, and she only covers Texans. So he mentions their names, of course. And I'm the other woman who's there every week during the week. And he does not. So that's a problem for me. I'm just going to tell you. I don't understand how there's no, now in this COVID era, because we are still in COVID, there's a limited number of people who have that access. Those of us who are vaccinated, who are part of we get tested every week by the team. You see us. And if for some reason I'm the one person whose name that you didn't know, the one woman of the three, and let me just tell you, I am the only Black woman. Okay, let's not make any bones about that. It, I would ask somebody. You have an entire team of people, a PR staff. Ask them, but it's not important to him. And so, what is it? Maybe one of you guys can answer. What is it that makes him not ever refer to me by my name, but refer to the other women by their names? Because maybe I am unduly offended by that, and I shouldn't be. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm a little offended by it. It's problematic for me. I say that to say, last week we were at the press conference with Nick Casario, who I haven't had a chance to talk to since training camp because he doesn't meet the media on a regular basis, and I'm not a part of the team's broadcast. I'm not a broadcast partner. So I asked, he was clear, and I had looked down to see was I wearing my press badge. He identified me as Kim. Go ahead, Kim. Really? I just think that's interesting, right? I think it's interesting, and um, I I don't know what that's about. So anyway, I wanted to just share that. So Nick Casario did say something that was a little disturbing to me when he said that the fans come up to him and that they stop him and that they like what the team is doing. I struggle to believe that. Now I'm not gonna say the man is not telling the truth. I just want to know, like, hello, what fans? Who are these people? And like when they stop you, what are they saying they like? What they certainly aren't doing is using their tickets. Okay, they're not using their tickets. I took a picture and I'm gonna post it. I think I can share it with the show. I I sent a picture. I mean, not sent a picture. I posted a picture from their last home game. Let me see if I have it. I have so much Astro stuff of the stadium, right before the Rams game. That's not it. And with the stadium that was not very full. And I also posted the attendance, the reported attendance that the team had. And I don't know where this is. I don't know where it is. If I find it, I will post it. I will share it with you all. But oh, I think I posted it just from online. Let me see. I'm gonna find it. And I am going to show you the picture and I'm going to tell you what the reported attendance was. Okay. They reported attendance so that you can make your own opinion about it. It was like the stadium was beyond empty. There was nobody there. There was nobody there. No, that's not it. Um, okay. I am. Oh yeah, that's what happens. I've been posting a lot, huh, guys? Where's my picture of all five people in the? Oh, this must be coming up at the game, the Texans game. It was awful. I think it was. It must have been on the 30th. Would that? Okay, this is it. Okay, so I'm gonna share this screen and tell you, let you see. Okay, do you guys see that? And let me see if I can make it bigger. Um, Actually, let me take myself out and just show you. Okay, so look at the stadium. Now that is not 3 hours before the game was to start. This is game. This is a game. This is the stadium. These are the people. The announced attendance was 66,013. 66,000 people paid for tickets. They are clearly not in the building. I don't even think half of those people, that number, I don't think it's 33,000 people in the building, right? So that's that's what's going on. Now, granted, it was a beautiful day on a Sunday. Later that night, the Astros were playing, game five in Atlanta. But people are buying tickets and they're not showing up. I was told, I don't know that this is, you know, I don't know this to be, I don't personally know this because I wasn't looking to buy tickets. I was told that there were tickets on sale for that Rams game for $5. Like you could have gotten in the game for $5. That's crazy. That's about the value of what they got going on over there, right? But that's where they are. That is where they are. Charles said, well, he just moved to the disdain list if he isn't treating you with respect. Charles, um, I don't even know if I feel like it's disrespectful. I just think I mean, he if I ask a question, he answers it. He's not snippy. He's not like O'Brien was. O'Brien was disrespectful. I mean, you know, he did everything but just say, "Do I really have to answer her questions?" I mean, he was that guy. David Culley isn't that. I mean, he's nice. He just never acknowledges that he knows who the heck I am. And I'm okay with that if that's the case with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just to me it's just not smart. That's what it is. It's not smart. It doesn't make good sense. At the most there are 20 of us there. There are usually somewhere between 8 to 10 of us in the room. And really, you don't think it's important that you acknowledge me by name? Like David Culley, when you look in the mirror and then you come into those press conferences, you never think that the one black woman that covers a team on a regular basis that you interact with, that you've never ever acknowledged her by name. That's where I am with it. I'm just gonna tell you, you know. But I'm gonna tell you somebody else who fell into that category for me. It was Rick Smith. What is it about these dudes in football? And it's not all of them. Like I know some coaches, I know some personnel people, but I don't know what Rick Smith never. And I met Rick Smith when he came to Houston, and there was a private reception for him at a friend's house for he and his wife. I met him in that setting before I started seeing him, you know, in in the building, right on the practice field. What is it about those guys? What is that? Anyway, he's gone, so that's neither here nor there. But now there's David Culley. Wow, wow. You know. Anyway, that's my David Culley story. So listen, I will continue to cover him fairly like I have since he's gotten here and like I do with anyone else. But I just think that's odd. And if any of you have insight into what that could be, I would love for you to drop it in the chat and let me know. You're listening to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Kim Davis, and we're having a conversation about personnel this week, about the moves it takes to rebuild, what that means, and what that should look like. So talking about rebuilding up, yeah, Charles says 66,000 people didn't buy tickets. They may be corporate tickets. You know what I mean? They've got deals that are probably made for multiple years. I don't believe that people went out and purchased tickets for that game, but they the announced attendance was 66,000. I was like, they should start saying tickets sold. Like, don't say attendance, because attendance to me means people here, people who are attending. And there clearly were not 66,000 people in attendance at that ball game. Charles says it's still indicative of the organization. They are selling a product and can't display simple humanity. Amen. I listen. Nick said last week. Um, he said fans come up to me and they ask me and they say they say good things. What? What fans? You know what I mean? Like, who are these people? Anywho, that was that. Here's a conversation. Here's a question that I asked Nick Casario. Um, what is this? I asked Nick Casario. Yeah, I'm not gonna play any David Culley. He don't get to be on the show today. Not because of that, just because I can't. I'm not. It's nothing that's gonna be that really that interesting. But I will let you hear from Nick Casario. Last week, I had a chance to talk to him, and he met the media, and he talked about where this team is, and he talked about it. So I asked him about Deshaun Watson. I asked him. Let me see. I asked him the question that we go back and forth about here. Why isn't Deshaun Watson playing, right? We hear from sources and analysts, and even Nick said during that press conference that a lot of times the stuff that you guys hear, I mean, I'm not a part of those conversations, so I don't know where they're coming from. Great. Glad you asked. So I asked Nick Casario, I said, Nick, why isn't Deshaun Watson playing? Now, there are some who said, well, of course it's obvious. No, no, no. There are two people who really know, at least two. Deshaun Watson and Nick Casario. Now, there are others who know, but definitely they know. So I don't have any access to Deshaun Watson. Here's Nick Casario. So, Nick, so what do you say? Why is he, you know, tell me, why isn't Deshaun playing? Let me let you hear from Nick Casario. I often wonder, Deshaun is a Texan, he signed to play here. What do you say when people ask, without going into logistics about trades, why he's not playing?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for somebody, okay? I'm never going to interpret someone's beliefs, what their wishes are. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to the people in our building. I have a fiduciary responsibility to 200 or so people in NRG Stadium on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a business entity, our coaches, our players, our operations staff, and quite frankly, to the fans of our organization, which we have a lot of great fans. I mean, anecdotally, we've actually had a lot of support. I mean, not that people come up to me randomly and just let us know how much you appreciate what we're trying to do. And again, it's nice to hear. It doesn't necessarily, it hasn't translated over into what everybody had hoped, but we've had a lot of support. And my job is to try to do the best job on a day-to-day basis for this organization as possible. That's what I was hired to do. I'm going to try to do that to the best of my ability. And I can't do that by myself. Okay? There's a lot of people that are involved in that. And we're going to try to continue to bring as many good people in this building that help us accomplish our goals. I often wondered. Okay, so then I followed it up. Okay. If you wanted to play here, that's I'm trying to be clear. Yeah, I'm not going to comment about what we're going to do on a day-to-day basis.
Play him if you wanted to play here. That's I'm trying to be clear.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment about what we're going to do on a day.
So, you know, I was a little, you gotta, Nick talks really fast, and you gotta really be locked in. But here's the deal. I asked him why Deshaun ain't playing. I don't know the thing about, I'm not gonna speak for somebody else. So that's why I followed up with, could you play him if you wanted to play him? I mean, what does that mean? And he basically didn't answer either question. But and then when I asked him why isn't Deshaun Watson playing, and he said, "Well, I don't want to like get somebody to do something they don't want to do." So because Deshaun doesn't want to play, I don't understand any of it. Okay, here's what I know: the Texans team is really bad. Their quarterback play has been deplorable. This weekend, Tyrod Taylor's back. He looked awful. All right, he's rusty. He hadn't played since week two, the first half of week two. He's been injured. So his timing, everything's off. Um, he did not have his finest outing on Sunday. Davis Mills is Davis Mills. The offensive line is not great. The running game is subpar. I mean, the offense is just not very. The offense is offensive in terms of they're not. You should be offended by what you see, but they're not great offensively. The defense had 5 takeaways on Sunday. The Texans scored 9 points. They had 5 takeaways on Sunday. The team scored 9 points. That's never going to win you ball games. And so for the defense to say we got to do more, listen, this Texans organization, this is a great week for the bye. Maybe they can figure some things out. They're not going to be great, this year and probably not next year. But they should be not embarrassing, right? They should be competitive. And this was one of the games, this Miami Dolphins team. That was one of the wins that I expected them to have. What in the world? This was a team. I'm like, this is one of the, if you're looking at the schedule when the season starts and you're talking about where could the wins come, the Dolphins, that was one of those teams, one of those wins. That's over. So they're off this week. Um, Somebody said they won't lose. That's true. There will not be a Texans loss this weekend. They are off. It's their bye week, and they're back in action on the 21st. They play at Tennessee. They play the Titans on the 21st. They play the Jets at home. Then they have 3 games in a row at home. They have the Jets on the 28th. They have the Colts on December the 5th. And they have the Seahawks on December the 12th. You know, um, that's true. Alvin says they were off last week too. Yeah, they were awful. They were awful last week, Alvin. That was just bad football. It was really bad. And you know what? I the play calling, I don't know what that was. I don't know how you go for a kick a field goal when you're down by 11 and you're on the 2 yard line in the fourth quarter. I don't really know why you don't just go for it on fourth and goal. But that was a decision the coach made. And Charles says one reason for not answering could be he be concerned how the public will respond to the truth about what they're doing. Yeah. And again, again, Alvis says hot mess. It is. It's a dumpster fire. It is a dumpster fire. It is not, it's just not good football. They're not just 1-8. It's 1 and an ugly 8, you know, and they seem to be getting worse. I don't know, Alvin. I know Charles, you're not watching, but Alvin, are you watching? To me, it looks like they're digressing. Like each week is getting worse. The game against the Rams was woo, it was horrible. And then the game against the Dolphins, I'm like, it was worse than the Rams? Because at first you thought, okay, well, the worst game was when they played the Bills, but they were on the road. The weather was bad. It's a team that you expected them to lose to anyway. I tell you what, it is Charles says sounds like they're off every week. And Alvin says, hot freaking mess. That interception Taylor threw, what was that? You mean the one where he was on the sideline and he just kind of like a shuffle throw? Dude, you got to make sure the person's out of. I mean, what are you doing? I don't. He just didn't seem as focused. One of the reason that Tyrod Taylor has lasted in the league as long as he has is because he doesn't usually turn the ball over. He doesn't make those kind of mistakes. He had 3 interceptions on Sunday. You knew Miami was going to blitz. They couldn't handle it. I mean, Miami was just like they were blitzing from the locker room. That's what they do. You knew to expect that, and they could not. They didn't have an answer for it. So I thought, okay, at halftime, they're going to go in and do what teams do at halftime and figure it out and come back in the second half. And yeah, they came back, but there was no real adjustment that was noticeable. Okay, so that was that. So you're right. That's the kind of conversation that you have over on Kirby, right? Meanwhile, the Astros, I'm gonna let you hear a little bit from uh yeah. Alvin makes a good point. He said, I watched that mess. He said he is a he's not a starting quarterback. Has he played a full season? You know what? I want to be there for Tyrod Taylor because I think he's gotten some bad breaks and some freak injuries but man, yeah. So much for the thing of, maybe they'll give him another year next year. Who knows what they're going to do? I mean, he's not their only problem. He's not there. I mean, I think he'll show much better. I think that they're working through the bye week. We don't have access to them this week. There's no media availability. I'm actually okay with that. Good and doggone well, they would never, ever, never bring Colin in. They wouldn't bring him in. They've had opportunities to do that. They will never bring in Colin Kaepernick. This organization, Cal McNair, you would have had a better chance with Bob McNair. Cal McNair and Jack Easterby, ain't no way. There's no way it's happening. I agree, but there's no way. There's no way it's happening. So, Deshaun Watson remains a Texan through the end of the year, through at least the end of this year. And I have to tell you, I, Deshaun not playing is not a huge distraction for this team. I mean, I think it's a distraction for the rest of us. We want to know like what's going on, what's going to happen, but I don't know. They're paying him $10.5 million, and so in your mind, if you justify it, I'm talking about if you're the Texans organization, we wouldn't play him anyway because all of the civil suits are not have not been solved, and we don't know. So this year we're not paying him. They just eat the $10.5 million and the roster spot. But next year, that number is what, $30 million? Clearly, they'll make a move in the offseason. And here's what I've always said: there was no rush from the Texans side to trade him before the trade deadline because you're trading him for picks. You're trading him for draft capital. And you'll know better or best when the season ends who's where and whose draft picks mean what those draft picks really will be. So I, you know, I kept hearing, because John McClain and Mark Berman said it was going to happen, it's going to happen. I didn't think it was any closer to happening than before. I think until those suits are settled and there's some sense of what the NFL is going to do, And here's the other thing: if there's only one team right now that Deshaun is willing to go to, that makes it very difficult to do a deal. And he has a no trade clause, so we'll see. There's a lot that has to be worked out. Charles said, "I remember the inmate comment, and I will never forget." Yeah, that inmate comment was something, and I heard it was in jest. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I will tell you, give me Bob McNair over Cal and Jack Easterby any day, right? Any day. All right. So our special guest, our business spotlight, is going to be joining us shortly. Good morning, Kim Edwards Williams. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you, Kim.
So I told them earlier, this is our business spotlight. It's a new little segment we're doing on Chalk Talk, and you just launched a new growth serum, and I'm super excited for you to tell us what it is and about this revolution you're starting.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for having me. Yes, I am so excited. My business is Eyebrow Energy. I've been doing eyebrows professionally for about 14 years, but I've been playing and messing up people's eyebrows for about 20 years. um, and in this time, I've always been really particular about natural eyebrows. I've loved us having our natural brows. And so I built a business for the last 14 years on helping people grow their brows in. And so it's always been a dream of mine to have my own growth serum. And so thankfully, I have a new product. It's an eyebrow energy growth serum. I should have it right here, but I don't. Um, and what it does, it has peptides in it. So peptides will help you rejuvenate what you have going on. And so right now, I mean, peptides should actually be in your shampoo, your skincare, all those things. But it's in the growth serum. And so using it will get you longer, fuller, natural eyebrows. And for me, y'all, the growth serum is really an opportunity to start a conversation about normalizing natural eyebrows. I think we have honestly gone too far away from natural, um, with us just overplucking for 20, 30 years like we've been doing. And the new thing now, microblading and tattooing and all of those different things. And I think there is a market for both of those, but it's a very particular audience, and I think a lot of people are going that direction that may not have to. So, I've been watching clients, I've been growing brows in 5, 6, 8, 9 years, and we've watched them just get better over the years. And so that's my mission to get us all back to our normal, natural eyebrows. Most people don't even realize. So, see my brow, this front part here, most people don't have that under my finger. Most people
Right.
don't. We need that, y'all. This end over here, most
Right.
people don't have this end. We've stopped them right here. That's not where they're supposed to go. It's the whole thing happening. So what I know is getting you the right shape helps your confidence, help your face structure. You start liking your nose and cheeks and everything better. So that's my mission. Thank you, Kim. And luckily, I've been able to have Kim as a client for the last several years.
Look,
We've grown her eyebrows in. They're beautiful. They're all natural. And I mean, Kim, you can just, tell us the process of growing it in. It's not overnight.
it's
And
not
so
overnight.
have to
It's like really kind of everything else, right? We have to be patient and be willing to embrace some of the natural stuff that we have. I will tell you that as a child, I had those really thick eyebrows. And when I was like 7, because I didn't know any better, I was like, I'm going to clean my brows. And I took like a razor. And so I cut off one of my brows. So for years, I thought I couldn't have that come back. And Kim is like, oh no, it can grow back. It's just you have to leave it alone. So it is leaving it alone. And really, listen, your eyebrows shape your face, and it makes a big, big difference. And so the natural shape does take a minute, but it's what you should have. Like you don't look ridiculous. I don't know. I don't want to be offensive to people, but it doesn't look out of sorts. And so I was super excited about it. I have a client who's an anchor up in the Midwest, and I have Kim is helping her to get her eyebrows together because it's a part of her look that needs a little bit of help. So I have below this, you see the website scrolling, so you can go there for more information. Where's your audio, Kim? We lost your audio. Say something, Kim. Can you hear me? Okay. I think she's frozen. I think she's frozen. We're gonna let her come back. Okay, she's gonna jump out there and she's gonna come back. There she is, and she's not frozen. Okay. Unmute your mic. Uh,
back.
there you go. Okay.
Should I put that on airplane mode?
Oh, that's a good question. No, because then you can't be online.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, but yeah, so I just think the whole natural look is cool. And there's the eyebrowenergy.com where you can go get information. You can follow Kim online. She's doing these great tutorials I've been seeing. You showing people really about the shaping. So Kim, the key is really getting a shape,
It's
right?
all Yeah, it's using as much hair that naturally grows on your face to get the best shape. And that just takes time. And a lot of people say, well, I only pluck one or only pluck one here every month. But the reality is that's a different one every month. And so if you leave that
Mm.
next month, it's gonna have two little friends, and then we'll catch up to 7 one day. But it just The growth serum is going to help that process. But I don't want to create any ridiculous expectations. This is time and investment. You know, Kim has invested in her eyebrows. And so that's the part I want to share. And also, I love sharing the skill of threading. This is a skill that
Uh-oh, she's frozen again. Oh, there you
I
go.
can thread probably about 50 people with that. So you can do the math on that. The overhead is extremely low, but I love sharing the skills. So if you have a student that's going to college that is good at hair and makeup and those kind of things, let's get them this skill. They could easily do eyebrows for $10 in the dorm. Instead of having to go to McDonald's. So I'm extremely passionate about sharing the skill. And if you're already in the industry, you don't have to let your client, I think barbers for sure. I think eyebrows should be moved out of the makeup space into more. And so if you're a barber out there, or if you know a barber that does eyebrows already, I would love to teach them proper shaping. Most people don't know that. And the money resides in the shaping. That's where clients come back. And so just for people that don't know or, you know, maybe interested in the skill, I can tell you that today, and it took some years to get to this, but today my first time clients are $125 and my monthly appointments are 60. And so I say that just to share the opportunity we can have with our hands. So I'd love to share it if you're open.
Eyebrow energy. Kim Edwards Williams, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate you.
Power to the natural eyebrows. All right, everybody. That is our business spotlight of the week. I wanted to end the show with that. I wanted you to hear from Kim. It is a great opportunity. Eyebrows do frame your face. Charles is so funny. He said he hasn't had eyebrows in decades. We can get you some serum. All right. We can get you some of that growth serum. So, and then School Bully says yes. I'm not sure to what. But hey, listen, thank you guys for being a part of Chalk Talk. We are here every week, of course, at 10 a.m. Central on Tuesday. And then throughout the week, there are all sorts of updates that we do in terms of what's happening. So thank you for being a Chalk Talker, for being a part of the tribe. And I ask that if you will, whatever platform that you see this show on, that you share it with your tribe as we continue to grow our audience and create some more people who want to be Chalk Talkers. So listen, remember, there's a few things I want to share with you. Make sure that you are vaccinated. If you're double vaccinated and it's time, get the booster. I'm getting my booster this week on Thursday, and I'm taking my older brother with me. So be vaccinated. It really, really matters. Also, make sure you're still practicing social distancing. We are still in a pandemic. This is still a lot going on. I still wear a mask when I go into grocery stores and other places and other buildings, and I'm not really trying to be around a whole lot of people, especially when I don't know what their status is. I think it's important to be safe. You're getting ready for a holiday, make good choices. So remember, do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. If you're not registered to vote, do so. There's elections. There are going to be some elections coming up next year in February, but make sure that you just stay registered to vote. All right, everybody. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. And remember, I'll see you next Tuesday on Chalk Talk. Have a great week.